Okay, we're going to take a look at Microsoft Access database and look at a little bit about the objects that you're going to have in a database and a little about how it runs. And this is basically just an introduction to Microsoft Access. With Access database, you can work with relational databases, and this helps you minimize duplication of data, and which means you're going to have more accurate data. Your data entry is going to be faster and easier. Data can be viewed and sorted in a lot of different ways, and information is more secure because it's not going to be a big picture. Someone would have to get the whole entire database to understand what was in it. Data can be shared and edited by several users simultaneously, so that's a good tool as well. Okay, so database contains different objects, and the main objects that a database contains will be your tables, queries, forms, and reports. You can also use a navigation pane to display objects. So here's an example of what a database looks like from the form. This is a form. Let me go back previous. So here's a report. Here's a form, here's a query, and here's a table. And the reason I know what they are is because there's a different icon that you use for each one of these. And if you look at the left side, you can see that the tables have a different icon, and notice how the query looks, and the form and the report. So one of the things you want to pay attention to as you're working in Microsoft Access is the navigation keys and the record selector. They're very helpful in helping you figure out where you are, how many records you have, and how to quickly add a new record. You can move back and forth to the first record in the list, or you can move to the last record in your data. And you, like I said, can create a new record. Okay, we briefly talked about the icon used before. So let's talk a little bit about tables. Contain all the data within the database. It's like a spreadsheet-like called data sheet view, and tables are linked with common field to create a relational database which minimizes redundancy of data. Queries allow you to select a subset of fields records from one or more tables and create a query which will help you answer questions about your data. A form provides easy to use data entry screen for you or for someone else. Reports provide a professional presentation of the data with headers, footers, graphics, calculations on groups of records. Okay. You can also use templates or sample databases to sort off your data. You want to make sure that you identify the data type and the characteristic of that field, whether it's text, number, or a hyperlink, something of that nature. There are many types of data that you can put in a field of data in the table. So here are some examples of the types of data that you can have in your database. You can have short text, long text, numbers, and the numbers can also be different. It can be, for example, integer, which is going to be a whole number, or you could have something like a double, which is going to allow you to use decimals. You can use date and time, currency, auto number. You can use a yes, no, or true, false type data. You can actually embed an object, such as a chart or image. You can add in have a data field such as a hyperlink. You could have an attachment. You could have calculation in a field, and you could have a lookup wizard. You can actually have a drop down that would provide information from another table in your database or from another linked table. Okay, so when you create a table, the essential task is to define the field, select the data type, and name the table, and determine how the table will participate in the relational database. And with that, you definitely want to create a primary key, which is going to be the key that's going to be unique in that record and will allow you to maintain unique records in your table and in your database. Okay, let's talk a little about what um, you're going to have in your table. You're going to have fields, which is a specific piece or category of data, such as a first name, last name, city, state, phone number, and that's good. Those fields are going to be filled to form records. Records are going to be the rows that you see in that table, and it's a group of related fields that describes, for example, person, place, or thing. A key field is a field that contains unique information for each record. A table is a collection of records for a single subject, such as customers, products, or sales. And relational database, we've already discussed that a little bit in class, but it's making sure that your tables are linked together. Okay, so I said that previously that tables, queries, forms, and reports are the four main objects that you have in a database. They are, but you can also have macros and modules which help automate your database to some extent. Okay, so primary key contains data that is unique, identifies each record. No two records can have exactly the same entry in the primary key field because it's going to prevent you from doing that. You can also create a relationship with another table by using your primary key to associate it with the foreign key in another table. So here is a design view of a table, and you can see the primary key, which is comment ID, and you can see the data type for that primary key, which is auto number, and then you can see the other three fields that are in that table, and you'll notice that they have different data types, and you can see from this image that there are two tables listed. Okay, we've talked about foreign keys, and here's an example of how you create relationship between the two tables. So in this case, comments to customers, and you can create a one-to-many relationship with enforcing the referential integrity. Okay, before we run out of time, I want to take some time now to actually go over some of the information that you can use actually in the database. So this is a sample database, and let's take a look around. Okay, we have object type selected and all access objects selected. That's going to allow us to see everything. If you can't see everything in your database, double check whether all of your object type and all access objects are showing. So you just want to check that. Okay, so here you've got some tables, and this has been used online, which is why you have this icon looks a little bit different. So this is your tables. So here's your queries, here's your forms, and you can see how many there are in this particular database. And then you have reports, and you also have some macros. So remember, I said that was also another object that you could have. So let's take a look at some of these. So here's your customers table, and so let's take a look at it, and we're going to go to the view. So here's your customers table, and this information can be used. You could actually key in a new customer here, but that's not your best option for keying in information. The best way to key in new information is to go to the actual customer form that you're going to use. So let's see, customer list. So you've got some customer information here, and this is a list that gives you some information about particular customers. There's also some other forms in here. So here's your dashboard that you would use to quickly move around. And so if you wanted a new customer, you could fill in a form for that particular new customer, and if they have an order at that particular time, you could also process that. So let's say we would want to create a new form. So we're going to go to the Create tab, And let's take and use, we're going to add some customers to this. So let's open up customers, and let's put the company ID here, and let's do first name, last name, and business phone, and let's take and put customer name. So I have that, and let's put city and state and zip, and then let's take and put email address. Alright, and then we're going to save a form, and let's just go okay, so let's change it a little bit because we already have a customer list. Alright, so here we are with this, and we're going to, so we could add new, we could review existing customers, or we could add a new. So remember, we looked at the record selector down, so here's one down at the bottom that we can maneuver through our records with the record selector, or we could add a new customer and add them in with the pertinent information we need for that particular customer. Okay, before we run out of time, let's take a look at some of the queries we have and see how they work. So let's find a query and see what they have in there. So let's take and find invoice data and look at the design view. So here's a query that's been created, and you see it's using quite a few tables to combine information for invoice data, and that's going to probably use for a report, and we'll take a look and see which report gets used for this. And this works because all of these relationships have been created between these tables. So for example, let's look at this relationship. So this product has been ordered many times. So let's put this over here so we can see this. So here's your order. Here's your order table. So customer places an order, and in that order you're going to have a list of items they order, which is going to be the order detail table. So there's going to be a list of items they order, and there's going to be a product identification in there for that, and then this further identifies those products. So there's a relationship between products and the order detail because that's listed in the order detail, and then the order detail is a sub table for the order itself because you're going to have a list of items ordered in that particular order. And I'm sure that, for example, you're going to have an invoice related to the order, obviously, and you're going to have customers who have one-to-many orders. So that makes sense too, right? We'll go back over that again next time. Okay, we just recently looked at the query for the invoice, and here's the report for the invoice. It gives a breakdown of the company that placed the order, the products they order, so here's that detailed information about the product, and then you've got the price that's charged for that particular product with the invoice information. I'll post another video with more detail about Microsoft Access in a few days.